Hello, I'm going to give you a few tips on interpreting the comprehension scores for a student in DORA. So initially I've logged in, I'm on the DORA tab, and we are taking a look at my class, and I see a bunch of different scores. The scores sometimes vary quite a bit. Comprehension right here, which we're looking at, is probably the hardest subtest because you actually have to read passages, and that's a more difficult task for students. The passages get longer as the grade level goes up. Initially, if I was wondering whether this student, Clara, had an artificially low score, she's in 4th grade, she has a 2.17 score, which is low second, I may first click on the previous assessment button. So I click on it, and now I see earlier, she had a 0.5 level, which means kindergarten, which means she had a 1st grade passage and she had a non-mastery, which means less than 4 questions correct. And then same thing at the middle of the year, and then suddenly her score went to 2.17. So I would think that that's probably accurate. It looks like she had some struggling with decoding. She's gotten a little better. Sight words went up, but she still struggles with phonics. So that makes a lot of sense. I think that score is accurate. Now the next thing I could do is I can go ahead and click on the Comprehension Detail button. So if I click on this, I'm going to view it. We're now looking at the detailed of how much time they took reading a passage and how much time they spent answering questions. So if we look at Clara, we see that she actually started off, let's see here, on her 1st grade passage, she spent 9 minutes reading it, 15 seconds per question on average, 67% accurate, so she got a mastery, and then she went up to a 2nd grade passage, 12 minutes, 20 seconds per question, and then finally she went to a 3rd grade passage. She spent only 1 minute and 10 seconds per question. So it looks like she probably frustrated at the 3rd grade level. The text was probably too hard, so she didn't spend time reading it, or she got maybe tired too. Maybe she could go higher, but probably not, given her decoding scores. And then we see she had a non-mastery there. So again, this allows us to verify that this looks accurate, for this particular student. Now let's come down here to this student, Bill. So Bill spent 0.1 minute reading a 1st grade passage. He did get mastery, okay? Then he spent 0.3 minutes reading a 2nd grade passage. He spent 8 seconds per question, 17%, and then also looks like somehow he was given a 3rd grade passage. Maybe he started off higher, went lower. Really tried on that one, and then he had non-mastery. So my guess here is that this student looks like they're not spending enough time reading passages at the lower levels, but they are trying. So again, this is probably an accurate score, and they got a 1.17, previously a 0.5 score in comprehension. So that student is low in comprehension. Now this student right here, Carly previously had a 3.5 in comprehension, and this time had a 1.17. So my guess here is that this student did not necessarily try as hard, because we do see on the 3rd grade passage she spent 8.5 minutes, 23 seconds, only got 33% mastery. So that's accurate. So she definitely is below a 3rd grade. But then on the 2nd grade and 1st grade passage, she only spent 0.2 minutes and 0.1 minutes reading. So she really didn't try to read the passage. And then she did spend some time reading the questions, 10 seconds per question and 19 seconds. So she did try, but maybe not as hard. So is she really as low as a 1.17? I don't think so. She probably is around a 2nd grade comprehension. Previously, she had a 3.5. So this student is below grade level overall, but probably not as low as 1. So you can see the way I'm dissecting this. Students get frustrated because reading passages is a tough task, and so sometimes you could sort of decipher what they're doing. There's one other element in this report I want to show you. If we come over here and look at these 2 columns, percent factual error, percent inferential error, this looks at the percentage of questions that are factual versus inferential in terms of mistakes. So we look at a student's all their incorrect answers, and we say what percentage were inferential questions, what percentage were factual. So if we look over, let's take a look at this one student, Carl, who we looked at before. 50% of his errors were factual, 50% were inferential. If we take a look at this student here, Clara, 40% were factual, 60% were inferential. And here's one student, 73% inferential, 27% factual. Generally speaking, that makes sense. Inferential questions are harder than factual questions. So this is another thing to look at. It gives you a little bit more information on again, trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, so hopefully this helps you interpret the DORA Comprehension Detail report. On the very top, there's a little bit of a legend. RT stands for reading time in minutes, and question time is the average response time for the quickest 5 out of 6 questions. So we do that because let's say the student is answering 6 questions, but one question they just take a long time. Maybe they got distracted, they walked away from the computer. So we sort of throw out one score's response time, and then we look at the average of the lowest 5, and that gives you your question time response rate. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Again, dig into the report, and this will get a lot easier as you do it. Thanks.